I feel a rent coming on, a rent coming on, a rent coming on. I feel a rent coming on. Hey everybody, it's Felicia of Super Nerdy Church Girl, and I'm here to review Killer Mike's Trigger Warning Episode 2 entitled F School. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I just think this episode was in here for shock value. Period. It really didn't accomplish anything in my opinion, and it was just kind of tasteless. So let's get into it, shall we? So in this episode, Killer Mike starts off going to what looks like pre-K elementary school to talk to this group of, looks like they're 5 or 6 year olds. And he's basically like, what do you want to do with your life? And they have all these lofty things. Like there's this kid who's like, I want to be a scientist and, you know, dreaming really, really big. And then there's a black kid who's just like, oh, I want to be president. And then he's like, you can't be any of those things, dream smaller. And I have a really big, huge issue with that. Basically, his premise is that, and it's not something that's totally unheard of or hasn't been brought up in, you know, current events, that we should train students for vocational opportunities such as plumbers, trades, etc., etc. However, myself being a gifted kid who was, you know, in advanced classes, some of us are more cerebral than that, and we don't prosper in those types of hands-on activities. And I just found it hugely ironic that he's telling these kids to dream smaller when he's a freaking rapper / entrepreneur / creative. So like, you don't see the hypocrisy in that, you know. But anywho, and I didn't appreciate him telling little kids that. No, that's unacceptable. That's something that a good parent would have to go and talk to a kid and undo. Telling this kid he can't be president of the United States, that's your limited thinking, Killer Mike. Maybe he's going to be president of his own company. You ever thought about that? Which is totally plausible. And it brings me to like I'm going to highlight the difference between black people throughout the African diaspora and African Americans. Because African Americans, we have, and forgive me, I'm going to generalize. They tend to have a limited scope of what you can be, and it's not. I reason that that's due to segregation, the history of oppression in this country, and this collective consciousness, this collective trauma, you know. Whereas someone comes here from Nigeria, someone comes here from the Caribbean, they see no limit. They see America as the land of opportunity, all of these, you know, cliches if they've heard, and they come here and they freaking kill it. They start a business and they're successful. They work their butts off. Their kids, they are scientists, where you're telling this other kid he cannot be. They're doctors, engineers, top tier, very intellectual, very brainiac-y, you know, profession. So, yeah, I was not feeling this episode at all. And so his solution is to, he goes and he grabs some people off the street. I mean, it's totally produced, but whatever. And he gives them this vocational test, basically asking them about plumbing and how to, you know, turn off a breaker, you know, things like that. And they fail. And so he's like, well, most people, when they're online, because he's talking to these people and they're like, okay, well, most people learn online. And he's asking them, why don't you watch YouTube videos on how to become a plumber? And this guy's like, well, it's not very entertaining. So then he goes into this statistics about how many people watch porn. And so he wants to marry porn with learning a trade. And so he, you know, talks to this girl who's like a voyeur. I guess she wouldn't be a voyeur. She's the the object of voyeurism. So she shoots like this porn or whatever in a room, and she has like 8,000 subscribers, and it's weird. And I don't even want to give names because I really like skipped through a lot of this because it was just gratuitous in my opinion. So then he goes and talks to this like sex positive therapist or something like that. And so he's like, well, I want to make sure I'm being respectful of black women, men, LGBT, and formulating a curriculum pretty much, or a series of tutorials on how to, like, how to fix a lamp, how to snake a pipe. I mean, you know, such crude, freaking elementary 13-year-old boy, like, fantasy jokes. It was so lame. It was so lame. And after the first episode, I really kind of had high hopes about this, but it's okay. Let me finish before I go into my rant. Coming on a filler rant. Okay. So then they have like all types of porn, girl on girl, girl on guy, guy on guy. In each stage of the porn or whatever, they're learning how to fix something. So I kind of skipped through those parts because I don't watch porn and I don't want to see it. I don't. And I guess that's what makes me a woman versus a heterosexual male who has this enormous platform, and what they do when they get a freaking platform is just reinforce like misogynistic, just like, this is what I saw when I saw the actors. I saw like damaged, desperate, sad looking individuals participating. Like, you can tell, like the girl who was in the first girl, like, these girls had all these tattoos all over their bodies. And I'm not trying to be a prude because I know people view tattoos as art, but tattoos can also be viewed as a form of self mutilation. And these girls were young and they just seemed unkempt, skin bad, just like impoverished. And I could be totally reading it wrong. Maybe they make thousands upon thousands of dollars, but they didn't look healthy and they didn't look happy. They looked kind of zoned out, including the guys. And I just was like, how can anybody enjoy watching someone being exploited? And that's what it felt like. Even though he wanted to, wrap it up in this whole, like, I don't know, pro, this language of, I don't know, the word I'm looking for, like this modernized, equity, empowerment type of language, it still was someone exploiting other human beings for sex. And that's the most basic level of exploitation. And I wasn't here for it. And, like, don't do stuff for shock value. Like, don't freaking tell these kids to dream smaller, that their dreams aren't going to come true. Like, who the heck are you? How dare you? How dare you? And I say that because coming from where I came from, the only thing I had to hold on to make it out of that were my dreams. And my dreams are big and they're huge and they're vivid, and darn it, they're coming true. And a lot of them have come true. Things that someone from perhaps where I came from were not supposed to achieve. So how dare he get this platform and tell these kids not to dream? Like, get over yourself, Killer Mike.